तो हेलो मेरे प्यारे दोस्तों। तो पिछले एपिसोड में हम देखने आए थे जादू, जिसमें हमें कमाल कमाल के जादू देखने को मिले। लेकिन एक एक्सीडेंट होने के कारण या फिर मर्डर, जो मजिशियन था जिसका नाम था लिनी, वो अब सस्पेक्ट है और हम उसके लॉयर बने हैं। तो बेसिकली हमें इन्वेस्टिगेट करना है, इस जगह से सबसे पूछताछ करनी है और हमारा काम यह है कि हमें पता लगाना है कि ये मर्डर है या फिर कोई और ही अलग सी कहानी जुड़ी हुई है इस घटना से रिलेटेड। तो चलो यार, बिना किसी देरी के ये इन्वेस्टिगेशन हम चालू करते हैं।
Hey, you! Yes, both of you! Over here!
हेलो,
I've been keeping an eye on you for a while
ये
now.
कौन है? ये तो साहब बॉडीगार्ड इनके पास। मेरे ख्याल से ये भी बड़े आदमी होंगे, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जो भी
That's
देखना है
right.
वो हर कोई बड़ा
If I'm not mistaken, you're also among those who wish to cut down the thorns and pursue the truth. And by the looks of it, you're not from Fontaine.
Yes, you guessed
Well, you're
right.
right on the more about that one, but who are you?
यप, सही बोला भाई। कौन है ये? बता भाई, कौन है तू?
Have you never heard of the Spina di Rosula?
नहीं।
From mediating disputes and providing protection to solving conundrums, you name it, Spina di Rosula does it. And I, Navia, have the honor of being its renowned president.
ओके, तो इसका नाम नाविया और ये कहीं की प्रेसिडेंट है, रिनाउंड प्रेसिडेंट।
Well,
मतलब
those who
स्पिना डी
play by our
एक मेरे
rules
ख्याल से
call me
कपड़ा की
boss.
ब्रांड है ना।
I'm Silver, her attendant. Pleased to meet you.
And I'm Melus.
इसके
Demoiselle's
bodyguard,
various daily needs and affairs are under my purview.
Okay. So you want to investigate as well?
That's right. I've always kept an eye on the serial disappearance cases. My interest stems from a matter back from my father's time. I find Lyney an unlikely mastermind.
Okay, तो
Really?
इससे भी लगता है कि
We
लिनी
think so too.
निर्दोष
That's why
है।
we're looking for clues now.
तो चलो यार, मदद कर दे हमारे साथ भाई, क्योंकि हम भी सेम पेज पे हैं। तो
How did you come to that conclusion?
Intuition, naturally. My unparalleled intuition.
okay.
In your opinion, do you think it's right to treat a trial like it's an opera?
I don't think so.
Well,
Not always.
And why would that be?
क्योंकि मतलब ट्रायल एक बेसिकली मतलब किसी का लाइफ तुम बर्बाद भी कर सकते हो, या मतलब उसके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है ना, ट्रायल के ऊपर। तो डोंट डूइंग सो मेक इट इजी फॉर द ट्रूथ टू फॉल बाय द वे साइड। समथिंग सीरियस लाइक अ ट्रायल शुडंट बी ट्रीटेड लाइक एंटरटेनमेंट। या जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ।
See, Silver and Malus? I told you they'd be different. I like your answer.
Oh, तो हम
You
पास हो
passed
गए
with
भाई।
flying colors.
हमारा आंसर सही था।
Now, I need to make some preparations,
Okay,
following
तो
which
साथ आके
our
हमारे
joint
साथ मतलब
investigation shall
इन्वेस्टिगेट करने
commence.
आएगी
You two
कि
shall be my assistants.
क्या है असली में, कि हुआ क्या था।
wait. Since when did we become assistants?
ब्रो हम
Oh,
वन सही बोल
well,
रहे यार, हम बॉस बन
I
गए
can
भाई।
be the assistant.
Yes, one
Sure.
assistant भाई, हम
Or
पहले
your
आए।
companion, if you like. I'm really not that fussy.
Okay, that was easy.
That's more. You're quite the talker, aren't you, mister? And what about you over there? What do you think? You seem like you've got something on your
I
mind.
got nothing in my mind. I am.
I have nothing to add.
एकदम बस खड़ा हुआ है।
Alrighty then.
From here, at least, not from that
तो
point
यहाँ पे
on.
तुम्हें श्योर है कि मतलब तुम श्योर हो कि मतलब बेसिकली यहाँ से एक और रास्ता नहीं है, क्योंकि भाई मेरे ख्याल से सीक्रेट रास्ता भी हो सकता है। What about during the show?
I doubt there was much opportunity then either. I did not abandon my post, and I stayed put no matter how loud the applause was. If someone had so much as even approached the door, I would have noticed it, let alone if they had tried to leave. We Melazines are good at that sort of thing,
Okay,
you
तो
know.
इसके हिसाब से
So,
कि कोई यहाँ
it's
पे
safe to
नहीं आया
say
है,
the
ऐसा
girl
बोलना चाहते
couldn't
हैं।
have left.
The investigation team has some new findings.
Okay, तो इन्हें कुछ
Turns
मिला
out
है।
there's an issue with the random
बताओ
number
भाई, हमसे भी
selector
शेयर करो कि
after
क्या मिला है
all.
तुम्हें।
Lyney used the machine to pick a random member of the audience
Yes.
during his performance,
हमने देखा
right?
था
The lucky girl that later disappeared.
रो 7 की सीट थी
Well,
है ना।
we thought there might be a serious
एक और
problem
केस
with the
मिल गया
machine, so we had it taken away for
एक
further
बार तुमने रोल
inspection.
करके नहीं देखा?
It turns out that the seat number it picked wasn't random at
Okay.
all. The machine picks that same
Yes.
number
तो हमें
every
एक और क्लू मिल
time.
गया।
I'm sure you
तो मेरे
already
ख्याल
know
से-
that you have to make a reservation in advance to get a
हाँ।
seat, regardless of whether it's a trial or some
तो मेरे ख्याल से
performance.
मैजिक ट्रिक मतलब एक
In
काइंड
other
ऑफ फिक्स्ड
words,
था, रैंडम नहीं
Lyney
किया था,
knew
ये
who
हमें
would be
क्लू
sitting
मिला है।
where from the very beginning.
तो हमें पता चला कि जो मशीन था जिससे आरएनजी बोला जा रहा था, मतलब रैंडमली जनरेटेड किया गया था नंबर, वो एक्चुअली मतलब फिक्स्ड था कि वो सेम सीट हर बार चुन रहा है। तो इसका मतलब ये हो सकता है कि जो वो लड़की थी वो बेसिकली असिस्टेंट थी इनकी, है ना। वो एकदम मतलब छुप के आई थी, वो एक ऑडियंस की तरह।
So this is the rope that broke and caused the
और ये
water
रस्सी
tank
थी
to
मेरे
fall.
ख्याल से वो आग के जलने की वजह से टूटी थी।
The rope looks pretty durable. How can it be burned through so quickly by fire?
तो मेरे ख्याल से यहाँ पे पाइमन ने अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा है। तो मुझे लगता है जहाँ तक ये टूटा होगा मेरे ख्याल से किसी ने ये पहले से क्या पता ढीला कर दिया होगा या कमजोर कर दिया होगा जिसकी वजह से थोड़ा सा भी आगे से तोड़ सकता है या किसी ने काटा होगा। हो सकता है ना पाइमन?
Why are you suddenly so serious,
क्यों
traveler?
नहीं, हम सोच सकते हैं ये फ्रेम किया गया है, क्या पता लिनी को फ्रेम किया गया हो।
ठीक है, समझ गया।
Look, this bit is made from different material.
ओके, तो ये दूसरे
Most of it
मटेरियल
was
से बना
burned
हुआ
away,
है।
but
नाइस।
there's still a little bit of it left.
लाइक टाइप ऑफ फ्लैश कॉटन। फ्लैश कॉटन ये होता है जिस जादू का इस्तेमाल करते एकदम जल्दी जल जाता
So
है
if
जो।
a rope
Her name is Halsey.
ये कौन है?
She's a painter from Fontaine who's made a bit of a name for
हल्सी
herself.
कौन है? कोई पेंटर है जहाँ तक हमको
Apparently,
पता
she
है।
wasn't a regular at the Opera House, but she'd been feeling some pressure with her work lately, which made her decide to come see the
तो जो
magic show.
गायब हुई है उसका नाम
The magic
हेसली
troupe
है।
members all claim not to know her. We have looked into her social connections.
ओके।
It seems that she had no personal grievances or conflicts of interest with the suspects. Simply put, she wasn't related to the magic troupe at all.
ओके, तो इससे भी एक हमें इम्पोर्टेंट क्लू मिला कि जो हेसली थी मतलब जो लड़की गायब हुई है वो एक्चुअली मतलब इनकी असिस्टेंट नहीं है इनके हिसाब से, जो सही भी हो सकता है और गलत भी हो सकता है। तो हमें इतना क्लू नहीं मिला कि हम अभी डिटेक्ट कर पाए कि ये क्या सही है क्या गलत।
The thud
कोई
has become
आवाज
an
आई थी ऐसा
important
बोला जा रहा है
clue.
जब लिनी के ट्रिक करने से पहले। तो ये
That
कोई
makes
एक
sense.
इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट हो
So
सकता है।
what do you make of it?
I'm of the opinion that it may have been the sound of Lyney's accomplice. Lynette, perhaps. Jumping atop the water tank or something like that.
My mom wonders how Lyney's discussion with the guards is going.
ओके, तो चलो भाई बात करके देखते हैं
Let's
लिनी
go
से
see,
कि
shall we?
कैसा काम चल रहा है।
Things are getting interesting,
Yes,
huh?
come on.
We're about to see how magic is made.
You are
Goddamn
goddamn
right.
right. हेलो लिनी।
You've arrived.
ये
Who's
अपनी
this?
इन्वेस्टिगेटर है हमारे साथ मतलब इन्वेस्टिगेट करेगी।
Me? I'm Spina di Rosula's guardian angel. If you've got a problem, I've got the firepower.
स्पिना डी रोज़ले बेसिक कपड़ा की
Sorry,
दुकान है ना।
I got a little carried away
पर जो भी
there.
पुलिस का डिजाइन अच्छा है।
Call me
नाविया
Navia.
के।
I'm a partner of
Character
theirs
design.
and will be helping investigate this whole situation.
Yes, a world of secrets is hidden beneath this magic box,
Okay.
prepared specifically for this
तो हम
switcheroo
सही थे
trick.
बेसिक एक टनल है।
But before I reveal everything, you should have a look first. Notice anything strange here?
नॉर्मल मैजिक बॉक्स है इसमें कोई नहीं है ऐसा बोलना चाहता है तो ये मतलब इसमें टनल नहीं है पर तू आएगा कैसे?
I'm not trying to be dramatic. Remembering the details of a trick will help you understand the methods used to perform it more
ठीक है तो ये
easily.
जादू बताने वाला है कैसे किया था बेसिकली।
Weren't there balloons and other decorations here?
यप।
Ah, good eye. That said, you're still far from discovering the answer.
Back of the door isn't the same.
The back? You mean the inside of the door?
मतलब वो
What's
पहले
different
काला था
about it? Paimon didn't
अब वो
notice
थोड़ा सा ब्राउन
anything.
दिख रहा है ऐसे बोलना चाहता है।
Very good indeed. I thought you might not be able to catch that, given that you were sitting in the first row. Those patterns are now gone, replaced by a smooth wooden board.
Okay.
So,
Pattern
if you
बदला।
put two and two
तो ये दूसरा
together,
box है।
what do you get?
There's another box inside this one.
Exactly.
Okay, तो ये दूसरा
All
box
right,
इसके
let's
अंदर
go. I'll tell you how it works as we head down.
ये बॉक्स के अंदर बॉक्स अंदर ऐसे टनल से ऐसे जाता था ऊपर आया था बेसिकली ऐसा कुछ टाइप का।
Oh,
ओके सही
so
था
there was a
एक
passageway under
ट्रैक
the
जैसा
magic
था
box.
तो बॉक्स के अंदर बॉक्स लेट्स गो। तो हमें जादू मतलब सीख रहे तो गाइस अगर तुम्हें कोई जादू करना है फ्यूचर में जाके अगर मैजिशियन बनना है तो तुम ये ट्रिक इस्तेमाल कर सकते हो।
The
तो
inner
बेसिकली
box
जिन्हें नहीं
would
समझ
descend
आया मैं
after
बता
the
देता हूँ कि
audience
ये
member
ट्रिक
was put
कैसे काम करता
inside and
है।
be
इमेजिन
moved
एक
along
माचिस
the
का डिब्बा
trolley.
है तुम
All
उसको
while
जैसे
the
खोलते हो
outer
उसका
box
माचिस का
would
जो
remain
इसमें
on
माचिस होता
stage as if
है उसको
nothing
तुम
had ever
निकाल के
changed.
ये टनल के अंदर से जाके दूसरे वाले माचिस के डिब्बे में फिट कर देते हो बेसिकली सिंपल एज दैट। देन व्हाट अबाउट योर साइड ऑफ द ट्रिक?
Right. You were talking that whole time, and you even came out for a moment near the end.
आवाज चेंज कर सकते हैं पाइमन?
Ah, yes. A phonograph operated by Lynette was used to achieve that effect. My assistant and I had already scripted our conversation beforehand. When the countdown began, I had already gone to the opposite box via a tunnel using that ladder.
And what about Lynette? Where was she?
I was in the mezzanine space in the back of the box. And by the way, I was the one who walked out of the box at the end.
I mean, we are twins. All it takes is a change of clothes and no one can tell who's who.
Okay, what?
And that's my favorite part of this
ये थोड़ा सा
trick.
इंटरेस्टिंग था।
Only Lynette and I can
बस ये
perform
कपड़ा
it.
चेंज करके एक दूसरे को कर सकते हैं रूप बदल सकते हैं। समझ गए मैजिक ट्रिक। तो अब हमें पता चल गया कि मैजिक ट्रिक था और किसमें मतलब लिनेट भी साथ में थे लिनी भी साथ में थी इनके हिसाब से अभी तो मैं इनके हिसाब से क्यों बोल रहा हूँ तुम्हें लग रहा होगा, क्योंकि हम अभी किसी पे भी भरोसा नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि जो भी झूठा है भाई मर्डर थोड़ी बोलेंगे हाँ मैंने मर्डर किया करके।
ठीक है समझ गया।
What's this?
ये क्या
Looks like a hook tied to the end of a rope. Whatever it is,
बांध के
let's
रखने के लिए
make a
क्या
note of it first.
ठीक है, यहाँ पे किसी ने स्ट्रगल किया है, ब्रोकन वॉस मतलब स्ट्रगल की वजह से टूटा होगा ना।
The floor is wet. Please be careful not to slip.
These are the clothes that the lady chosen from the audience was wearing, right?
Okay, तो इसके
Her
कपड़े।
clothes are here, but she's nowhere to be found.
Lyney didn't mention the guest having a wardrobe change.
Right. And do you really need to do that if you're kidnapping them?
तो मेरे ख्याल से ओके मैं बताने इनको पहले खत्म करने देते हैं फिर हम बताते हैं। तो ये कपड़े उसके हैं जिसे हम असिस्टेंट मतलब ऑडियंस थी, तो मेरे ख्याल से पता है ये कैसे बाहर निकलोगी, ये कपड़े चेंज करके अपना रूप बदल के बाहर निकलोगी मेरे ख्याल से। ये काइंड ऑफ पावरफुल बंदे हो, मतलब ऐसे लग नहीं रहे कि मतलब नॉर्मल बंदे लग रहे होते हमें, एक्चुअली ये पावरफुल और असिस्टेंट जो था यहाँ उसका लीनी का उसको इसने पकड़ के मार दिया और ये मतलब अपना रूप चेंज करके बाहर निकल गए जिससे पता ना चले कि ये सेम बंदी थी ऑडियंस वाली जो थी, है ना। तो यहाँ पे हो सकता है लड़की मतलब जो थी असली वो भी नहीं हो, कोई और ही हो, ये हो सकता है मेरे ख्याल से। यहाँ पे वेंट है, ये इंटरेस्टिंग हो सकता है। वेंट क्या पता है भागे हो। लुक्स लाइक ए वेंट।
It seems someone could fit through here.
ओके तो कोई यहाँ से अंदर आ सकता है, समझे इसका मतलब दया, मतलब यहाँ से कोई भाग गया। तो ये बेसिकली अभी तक मेरा डिडक्शन है, यहाँ जितना हमारे क्लू मिले हैं उसके बेस्ड पर। तो बोला जा रहा है कि हम जल्दी से जल्दी क्लू ना खोजें तो लिनी और लेनट खतरे पे पड़ सकते हैं, तो हमें जल्दी से जाके इन्वेस्टिगेट करना पड़ेगा। द ओरट राइस विल डू। द ओरट राइस तुम्हें पता ना होगा तो मैं बता देता हूँ। द ओरट राइस है एक मशीन, बेसिकली ये मशीन करती क्या है मैं बताता हूँ तुम्हें। तो एक मशीन है जो पता लगाती है कि तुम गिल्टी हो या नहीं, और वो कैसे होता है मेरे ख्याल से हो सकता है कि हाइड्रो आर्कन को नोसिस से रिलेटेड हो कुछ, क्योंकि जहाँ तक गए हम जहाँ भी दूसरे देशों में गए वहाँ पे नोसिस से ही रिलेटेड था, ऐसे बड़ी हुई अनजान से मैकेनिक मशीन का मतलब जो हमें समझ नहीं आता, जैसे कि सुमेरु का इंटरनेट और फंटेन का ये जो मशीन है। फैसिनेटिंग, तो भाई बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग मशीन है ये भी, तो हमें बाद में पता चलेगा मशीन कैसे काम करता है।
Of course we'll have snacks. If we cannot buy some, then we'll simply make some.
Huh?
Understood, demoiselle. Everyone, please come with me.
Wait, you're carrying a portable stove with you?
वो ये कौन कैरी करता है सही में?
Yes, I must be prepared to meet the demoiselle's baking needs whenever the fancy strikes her.
बहुत ही ओवर प्रिपेयर्ड नहीं है सर जी आप। अब ये तो बहुत
I have eggs, sugar and almonds at the ready.
एक चूल्हा लेके घूमता है अपने साथ फ्री में हमेशा। ओके तो ये चाय पानी बना रहे हैं अपने लिए। ओके यहाँ पे एकदम मिठाई का तैयारी हुई, तो यहाँ पे हम इन्वेस्टिगेट करते साथ साथ केक भी खा सकते हैं।
Paimon can't stop drooling. From the way you had these two guys carrying all that stuff around, Paimon thought you'd have them do more during the baking process, but you ended up doing the entire thing by yourself, beating the.
I was applauding.
Wow.
And I was giving encouraging smiles.
Okay, wow, क्या encourage कर रहे थे? Wow, cheerleader से basically. That's not quite what Paimon meant, but okay.
He is ready to be served as well. This is Demoiselle's favorite.
अरे आप लोग
strong
खड़े आप
black
लोग भी
tea
बैठो
with a
यार. Why
floral
don't you
fragrance
take a
that
break as
clears
well?
the mind. No need for concern.
अरे
I'm merely
आइए.
doing as I should.
अरे
Your macarons are amazing, though, Navia.
वो मैकरॉन
They
मतलब वो
smell
बिस्किट की बात कर रही थी या
great.
केक
They're
की बात
nice
कर रही
and
थी।
crisp and super sweet.
वो आपकी बिस्किट हमें अच्छे लगे बेसिकली ये बोल रही ना।
They are my specialty after all.
What? 5?
हमने तो बस 3 ही खाया है।
That can't be right. Paimon only counted 3.
Yes, हमने बस 3 ही खाया है, 2 कहाँ एक्स्ट्रा? ओ इनके लिए।
Please don't worry about it. At my age, a few less sweets might actually be a good
तुम
thing.
दोनों ने खाया है ऐसा मत बोलो।
No,
कोई नहीं बोल रहा।
being greedy is one thing, but
कुछ नहीं
Paimon
बोलेगी।
knows how to count.
Yep, I know.
Besides, Paimon knows that if she ate too many, then others wouldn't have enough.
It's fine. If you ate them, you ate them.
Wait.
मुझे पता है 3 है मैंने गिना था। पता नहीं क्यों गिना था मैंने।
How could you?
ये दोनों खा है और कुछ नहीं, ये ताली बजाते बजाते खा गए, पता नहीं इसे।
All right, we get it.
अरे भाई
And I have the egg, sugar, and almonds.
ये तो मानेंगे नहीं भाई, तू राशन लेके घूमते, तुम लोग जेब में एक चूल्हा लेके घूमते, एक राशन लेके घूमते, इनके साथ भाई क्या सीन है? एक चूल्हा लेके घूम रहा है, एक राशन लेके घूम रहा है, पता नहीं क्यों। ओके, तो अब होने वाला है ट्रायल, तो मजे आने वाले हैं, तो हम चलते अगले दिन।
Ah, finally, you're back.
वापस आ गया।
Well, how did your investigation go?
बहुत अच्छा, मुझे बहुत सारे क्लूज मिलेगा और मुझे पता भी क्या हुआ। नहीं, मुझे पता।
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well, now, don't you
यहाँ पे
all
हमारे
look
हाइड्रो कार को लाते
disappointed?
हुए।
Don't tell me that your
हाइड्रो कार का तू
investigation
बेचाते
came
झापड़
up
मारूंगा मैं।
empty-handed.
नहीं, इसको झापड़ नहीं मारेंगे, टप मारेंगे।
Don't let that
क्योंकि
stop
हाइड्रो कार
you.
बनेगी।
I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most
वो टपली
anticipated
धीरे-धीरे
foe,
मुक्का में बदलते जा
concede
रहा है।
so
थोड़ी ना भाई ऐसा
easily.
मत कर यार। मैं चिढ़ा रही है, देखो यार क्लूनी मिला करके। मैं मुक्का मारूंगा अब मैं। Just you wait.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident
Okay,
is now
so it's time.
Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Lyney explain the trick?
Okay, तो trick explain
Yes,
करेगा
of
अपना।
course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage.
Thank you, Mr. Lyney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina, do you wish to refute his statement in any way?
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Lyney is clearly
झूठ
lying.
बोल रहा है, ये कैसे पता चला?
There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time
ये कैसे पता
if
चला?
you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say you were hardly
हमें proof
in
चाहिए।
that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis
Yes,
based on the
हमें proof
presumption
चाहिए।
that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
Okay.
And you didn't
इसने
hear
same चीज बता रहा है
anything
यहाँ पे।
else at all?
कड़ी लड़ाई हो रही
Nothing
है
that
दोनों के
might
बीच में।
leave an impression of any
और वकील
kind?
मैम मुझे बात करने दे।
No,
लीली।
nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard
Yes.
it.
Huh?
मैंने भी सुना।
Hey, hang on.
और 10 सेकंड पहले नहीं था।
Something's not
30
right
सेकंड के
here.
पहले हम 10 सेकंड में नहीं सुना तो थर्ड। How could Lyney not know about this round?
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a
मेरे ख्याल से
noise
किसी ने
that
struggle
loud from
किया था,
inside the box.
इसकी वजह से गिरा भी होगा।
I was
झापड़
right
मारा
by
होगा
the
ऊपर
box,
से।
and I definitely heard the thud.
किसी ने कस के झापड़ मारा है नीचे में। ओह, इसको पलट रहा है, उस तरफ जा रहा है। नहीं, हम नहीं हारने वाले। ट्रैवलर कुछ कर। They probably represent the alternate stance of the trial. मुझे पता है वो जीत रही है।
Well
नहीं रुक जा।
then, ladies
हमारी बारी है
and
अभी।
gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what
Okay.
can happen in the blink
ये
of an
हुडीनी का
eye.
कोट है मेरे ख्याल से।
Indeed, it seems his alibi can also collapse in the blink of an eye.
ओके, ये इसी का लाइन है मेरे ख्याल से। हुडीनी भी सेम बोला था,
Of
मुझे
course,
पता नहीं है।
I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid.
But isn't it just
Tell me,
assumptions?
aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
House of the Hearth ये ऑर्फनेज नहीं है? ऑर्फनेज नहीं है? They are फटुई। ओह नहीं, ये फटुई है। What? ये बड़ा
No
वो
wonder
पढ़ ले
they
भाई।
did something like this.
नहीं।
So the serial disappearances were the
लीली, थोड़ा सा
Fatoons
भाई
doing.
बचा अपने
Now
आप
it
को
all
डिफेंड
makes
कर।
sense.
I've got a feeling that what
अगर ये
happened on
है तो भाई
stage
मैं भी
probably
बजा पाऊंगा।
wasn't just an accident.
हो सकता है, क्योंकि अब ये बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करता है भाई।
That's
इस चीज़ में कि ये
irrelevant.
फटुई है।
Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
नहीं, लेनी ये है। Relevant है।
Indeed.
इस केस
Then
में।
perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute. The Outlander is speechless.
अरे बोलने का मौका दे
Oh
तुम।
my, don't they look
खुश
flabbergasted?
हो ले, मेरी बारी आएगी ना तो भाई देखने
Now
देखने नाच
comes
रही है।
the infighting in discord, I suppose. This was almost too easy.
रुक जा फरीना, अभी मैंने अपनी
Good thing I
बात
made
चालू
all
भी नहीं
those
की है।
preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled
अभी
last
खुश होना
night is
जितना भी
really
खुश हो ले, अभी
paying
मेरी
off.
बारी आएगी. अपना टाइम आएगा, रुक जा.
Hey, Lyney, why didn't you tell us this before?
That's a very important मतलब clue जिसने बताया. Lyney and Lynette are fatui.
Order! Order! You and Ms. Lynette are both members of the House of the Hearth. Are these claims true? Please answer my question, Mr. Lyney.
Lyney,
I'm
बोल दे
sorry.
कि ये सच है. I mean झूठ है.
Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
नहीं. और पलराडू फुरीना की तरफ जा रहा है.
I knew it.
I request a brief adjournment. There are things that must be
Is
discussed.
that really necessary? They're already as good as guilty.
रुक जा, अभी मेरे
The
पास clue अपने
defendant deceived their own
investigation
attorneys.
की है.
What is there left to discuss?
अभी तुमने
Order!
बस एक ही साइड
Order,
सुना.
I say! Your
Yeah,
request
thank
is
you.
reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will reconvene in 1 hour.
Lyney और Lynette, क्यों झूठ बोला तुमने मुझसे?
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up.
हाइड्रो आर्कोन हो.
I'm sorry,
मजाक की
Traveler
बात
and
नहीं है.
Paimon.
Yeah, sorry.
कोई बात नहीं.
Paimon
जो हो
doesn't
गया
know
वो
where
हो
to
गया.
start.
अब मैं
We
बचाना है
trusted
तुमको
you
वैसे.
two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guy. Not to set the wrong tone or anything,
Paimon.
but Paimon's really mad.
और रुक जा पाइमन
I'm
अभी.
very sorry.
मुझे पता है फटू ये पर चाइल्ड
I know you're angry, and reasonably so, but please, let me explain. I know you've clashed with the Vatui several times before.
पता है तुझे?
I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Yep, I know that.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
किससे बचाना चाहती
That's
है?
right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face.
Okay, तो ये पॉकेट की बात कर रहे हो मैजिक
I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details instead.
But how can we know that there isn't all just another lie? सही बोल रहे हो वैसे.
Right.
कि दूसरा
So,
झूठा ऐसा नहीं
you
हो
be the
सकता.
judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that
Okay.
moment on, Lynette and I
know
have been
मुझसे बात
designing
कर
this
रहे
box swap trick, with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you
तो ये
needed a
कोर के
whole
पास जाना
minute?
चाहते थे बेसिकली वो ट्रिक करके.
That's right.
ये
In
इनका
truth,
मकसद ये था.
the audience would take about 75 seconds to
Okay.
count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after
इनके पास
jumping
एक और
into the
मकसद था
tunnel,
ट्रिक करने के
I
लिए.
accessed
तो
the
ये हमें
opera house
छुपाया गया.
basement via
ये
the
तुझे बताना चाहिए
vent
था
and
नहीं,
went to
हमसे,
investigate
छुपाया
the
क्यों?
room in which the core is stored.
And what did you find?
Well, nothing.
तो हमें एक ऐसा प्रूफ उनके सामने रखना है जिससे जो तराजू को पढ़ रहा है वो हमारी तरफ आ जाए पूरी तरह से. Actually, we already have the key evidence we need.
Huh?
तुझे नहीं पता पाइमन? The adjournment almost over. Let's go back. वहाँ बताएंगे पाइमन शांत हो
Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
Let's begin the
When
track
last we
again.
left off, Mr. Lyney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact.
हाँ?
Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
Okay, तो ये अभी बताएगी. बता भाई फवरे.
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention.
ठीक है.
At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Lyney's perspective.
क्या? कि कैसे किया होगा? Okay. तो बेसिकली हमें जो फुरीना बताएगी उसके मतलब
As the
fact
countdown
का opposite
began,
करना है.
he entered the
मतलब काउंटर
tunnel.
करना बेसिकली. It felt that he countered the tunnel, yes.
When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud.
नहीं.
He
ये
did not
गलत है.
realize that the sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound.
अगर लिनी क्या होता तो वापस कैसे आता था इतना जल्दी यहाँ पे ये.
Finally, he used the vase to knock her out before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her.
Okay.
At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Lyney
तो हमें
red-handed.
एक थर्ड सुनाई तो दूसरा थर्ड क्यों नहीं सुनाई दिया बेसिकली. तो यहाँ पे दो थर्ड्स है ना, तो दो थर्ड्स हमें सुनाई देते हैं. अगर ये दो बार मुक्का मारा तो ये बोला.
So Lyney proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box.
Okay.
Afterward, Lyney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands.
Okay.
And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
हमें पता है कि लेनी वापस गया था 15
Does the
सेकंड के लिए।
defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of the events?
Objection.
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events, what Lyney experienced, and what he saw.
Okay. इसके हिसाब से ये है ना, तो हमें इस फिक्स करना है। Identify loopholes. पहली बात मैं सबसे पहले मैं चौथे पे जाना चाहूँगा। Identify loopholes. और loopholes था थर्ड की आवाज़ कौन सी है? 3 ऑर्डर टू आइडेंटिफाई। तो यहाँ पे loopholes हम निकाल सकते हैं कि वो खोजने गया था। Lyney statement.
According to Lyney,
है ना?
he left via the vent after
ये
entering
वो
the
बोला था कि वो
tunnel.
तो अपना कोर खोजने गया था और ट्राइस
altercation
का।
with Halsey.
पर वो झूठ भी बोल सकता है। क्या पता वो लास्ट लेके गया हो।
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say!
Yes,
When the countdown
Paimon,
started,
tell them.
Lyney did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area,
Yes,
he
Paimon
heard
ने
a
बता दिया
voice
मैंने जो भी बोला।
in what should have been an empty room. Since he felt something was amiss, he returned immediately. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view.
Yes, Paimon.
Therefore, he's innocent.
Yep, Paimon सही, let's go. Paimon भाई बराबर करवा दिया, let's go हमने। अब क्या बोल रहा है हाइड्रार्क और कैसे हंसी निकल गई?
Paimon did it!
Nice job.
Paimon actually...
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
Yes.
That's right!
Moreover, I believe my opposition's reasoning is flawed.
My reasoning?
क्योंकि तुमने थर्ड सुना वो 2 बार कैसा आया मुझे जानना है पहले कि however you say the Cowell bumped into Lyney by chance. Turnstile was clearly tempered within a premeditated fashion. ये भी मिला है हमें।
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill?
हाँ, चांस से मिला होता तो भाई
Assuming
किसे
that
मारने
what
के
you
लिए
say
आया
is
तो पहले से।
true, Lyney only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a point.
Yep, Paimon भाई हमको
That's
याद
right, you
जीतेंगे।
tell him! And that's why they're partners of mine. They've managed to turn things around.
Well, your denial is very strident. I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims?
Have you refuted Lyney's alibi initially? Do you happen to remember?
Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? Why do you ask? You're saying that he wasn't?
Yep. वो कोर के लिए गया था। You claim has no become weapon. You claim has no become military tool. तो हम ये बता सकते हैं।
That's right! Lyney wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Lyney had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof!
How do you like that?
Well played.
अब क्या बोला फरीदा?
To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Lyney who committed the crimes, then who was it?
I don't know. वैसे मुझे पता है Halsey था, the murder was. मेरे ख्याल से बताता, मुझे पता है कौन है murderer, मुझे पता है, मैंने मेरे ख्याल से था, लड़की है. The murderer was Cowell himself तो नहीं होगा, ये कौन है? मुझे क्या लगता है मतलब murderer was this.
Bruh.
तो बोलना चाहता कि Cowell ने खुद किया है, ये मेरे लिए नया है क्योंकि अगर इसने ऐसे पर कैसे मारेगा खुद को?
That can't be right.
मुझे भी लग रहा था, यार kind of weird है.
The killer was, in fact, Cowell, the deceased!
Yeah, I know Paimon.
Is that so? How interesting!
अब हमें पता लगाना पड़ेगा Cowell ने कैसे खुद को मारा.
Reasoning then.
How he murdered himself.
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim.
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble
एक क्लू
figuring
हमारे
through
पास
that?
नहीं है पाइबॉन और वो क्लू है कि हालसी है मर्डरर एक्चुअली नॉट कवर वेयर इन द वर्ल्ड डिड हालसी गो मैं बोल रहा हूँ वो सही है ट्रैवलर एक तरह से
I see how it is.
एक क्लू की वजह से हम हार
So
सकते हैं
this was
नहीं
all just a bluff. And
नहीं,
here
कुछ
I
अफवाह नहीं
thought
भैया,
you
मेरे
had
पास क्लू नहीं
something
है।
to show for it. But it seems you're still far
सब
from the
लोग शांत
truth.
रहेंगे अभी हम बता रहे हैं
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not consider a different track?
यस
Just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's initial design.
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them seem very likely. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear. You know, like you did from that water tank, Lynette.
तो escaping from the water tank एक और जरिया हो सकता है मैजिक नहीं है एक्सेप्ट escaping from the water tank जैसे कि लिनेट निकली थी वो पानी वाला मैजिक करके Wait, could it be the water?
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents. But do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient? There is no greater sin in this opera house than an awkward delay in the performance.
रुक जा अभी हम जीतेंगे अभी वापस लिया था मत कर यार ऐसा पूरी ना भाई
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Head judge objection hold on a second
Lyney was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time.
Yes, that was right. That is right. सही है यहाँ पे broken was है क्योंकि struggle की वजह से टूटा
The
था
vase was not broken by chance.
हाँ ये बोल रहा हूँ
It
मैं
was used to cover important evidence. The water.
If there's a similar method where a person could be transformed into water,
हाइड्रोविजन क्या बोलना चाहते हैं
Just a moment, please. I do
ये बोलना
hope
चाहते
you
कि
know how
हाइड्रो
preposterous
मत
you
मार सकते
sound at the
हाइड्रो से
moment.
तो ये थोड़ी मारेगी
How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality we're talking about here.
मेरे पास
not
लिटरली
some
ऐसा कैरेक्टर जो
magic
पानी में
trick.
टर्न कर सकता है मैं दिखा भी सकता हूँ पर अभी रुक जा I request that we examine Kawil's personal effects
Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Lyney already knows this truth very. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection.
Even so, I trust the traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make guards. Please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased cow.
तो हमें मिलने वाला है सारे क्लूज उसके बिलोंगिंग्स के वजह से
We are still
क्या पता
examining
उसके
the
पास
items,
विजन हो
but we have already made
जो
critical
हालसी थी
progress
उसके
that we
पास
feel
विजन है
must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are water from the primordial sea.
What?
The primordial sea.
Primordial sea तो वही ना जहाँ पे ड्रैगन आते बड़े बड़े
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. These dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Yes.
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a
तो यहाँ
coincidence,
पे
isn't it?
एकदम ऑडियंस के बीच में हल्ला मचते
People
हुए
can become water. Does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowell was targeting that girl... Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me!
Mademoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
तो इन्हें खुद पता चल गया
Order! Order!
Okay.
It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal
Interesting
effects
होते
has
जा रहा
yielded
है
some
धीरे-धीरे
surprising
time by time
results.
मजा आने वाले
But we cannot
क्या
yet
है इसकी
verify
भी?
the veracity of these
This
clues.
is getting interesting.
Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic.
मिल गया हमें क्लू तो डिसॉल्व करके उसने डिब्बे में छुपा दिया, माचिस के डिब्बे में, ऐसा बोला जाता है ना, दूसरे पीछे साइड में वो जो जादू कर रहे थे उसके।
It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine
और वो मरने
again!
चाहिए, खुद क्यों मारे वो?
In the original plan, Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel, and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
यहाँ पे अभी तक पता चल रहा है जिसके हिसाब से क्लू के हिसाब से कावल यहाँ पे मेन कल्प्रिट है, और मैं अभी भी अपने कल्प्रिट समझाना हूँ कि हल्सी मेन कल्प्रिट है अभी भी।
Have I falsely accused an innocent person? What a humiliation.
तो हमें एक और
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case, and we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Lyney's personal effects.
What? Lyney को किसी ने फ्रेम किया फिर से? ये कोई फ्रेम कर रहा है Lyney को? मेरे कैसे लड़की है? मेरे कैसा लड़की? हल्सी नहीं होता यार।
Well, how wonderfully comedic to have your own counterattack only to come back and wound you.
Definitely वही कोई try कर रहा है Lyney को मतलब फ्रेम करने के लिए।
Does this not clear all doubt? My dear citizens, my loyal audience, allow me to present my reasoning and bring this performance to a swift close.
फिर से नहीं पढ़ रहा, उसकी तरफ जा रहा है।
Lyney did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Indeed, he did leave the scene via the vent.
तो बोल रहा है कि वेंट से गया, हाँ।
Having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cowell then caused Halsey to vanish using the water from the primordial sea.
Okay, उसने vanish कर दिया, हालसी को ऐसा बोल जा रहा है।
But upon his return, in cruel avarice, Lyney desired sole credit and prepared to do away with his partner in crime. Ultimately, he knocked Cowell out, and the tool meant to cover the crime up also became a murder weapon.
Okay.
Now, as much as I regret having come to such a viciously straightforward conclusion, it does seem that the famed Fatui is quite the cold-blooded and ruthless organization. Am I right, Mr. Lyney?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no way for us to make a rebuttal here.
क्या करे? यहाँ पे सारे क्लू बोल रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे।
Is this the end of the road?
नहीं, रुक जा, कुछ तो कुछ होगा अभी भी। पूरा चला गया।
Oh no.
नहीं, Lyney।
Paimon can't think of anything either. Seems using the water as new evidence was too good a move.
हमारे पास ज़्यादा क्लू नहीं, जिसके साथ मारने वाले हैं।
I think we've all seen enough now. And we have ample witnesses to my flawless reasoning. I believe this is indeed the finale.
इसकी बॉडी हमें मिली भी नहीं अभी तक। तुम पहले खुश करो, बॉडी गई कहाँ? ये क्या हो रहा है?
Excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
Miss, I must ask you not to shout and to respect the ongoing legal proceedings.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break from all this debate and see a little magic? I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh, right before your very eyes. Please, do the honors, Mr. Lyney, if you would be so kind.
What in the world is she saying?
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope as a magician.
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth while presenting a fascinating illusion. But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous finale to today's performance? Come on, Lyney and Lynette. Give it another go. Don't worry. Spina di Rosula has made the necessary arrangements
मुझे
on
मैं
your
excited हूँ
behalf.
सही बोले तो
But as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think I should leave the
क्या
final
करने वाली
performance
जल्दी
to
वही बता दे
you.
बस
I understand.
Okay.
And voila.
Ta-da! क्या होने वाला है वापस आ जाएगी ये रही हेल्सी What? ये
Sorry
अभी तक
for
तो
the
अंदर में थी भाई
interruption.
बाहर भी आ रहा होता भूल गई थी अंदर आना
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So the whole thing about people dissolving wasn't true after all?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. Where should I begin? I'm sorry. I'm the one who killed Cowl. I admit it.
Oh, let's go. I was right. I was right. बस थोड़ा सा गलत था कि वो हालसी कोई और था
Firstly,
करके
my name isn't Halsey.
सही बोल रहा था मैं
It's Lillian.
What?
And I'm originally from Mondstadt.
What?
I heard that Lyney's show was going to be a real thriller, but I missed the chance
I
to
was
buy a
right the whole
ticket,
time.
so I stole one. That's how I make a living. I steal
Okay.
stuff here and there. And I'd never been caught before. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away.
वो तो ये वही थी
Lyney
जिसने
was the
चुराया
one who
था
caught me in the
एक बार
act.
जेब किसी का जेब मार रही थी ना तो मैंने सीन काट दिया था शायद तक पिछले एपिसोड में क्योंकि मुझे लगा था वो बिल्कुल भी इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं था अब वो इम्पोर्टेंट है I feel so bad about that
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it.
पर बस सही था
Then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I
पर
thought
तब
he
भी
was
ये
on
इतना
to me
सारी
for
से
sure.
वो मांग रही है तब
So
भी
I
मुझे लग
played
रहा था
along
कुछ
with the
करो।
show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the box.
अरे
There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance costumes. I slipped out
डिब्बे
after
में
the
छुपी हुई
first
थी
guard
जिसपे हम
arrived at the
गुना कर रहे
scene
थे
and continued
जिसको
hiding
मैंने बोला
inside
था
the
कि ये
opera
बकवास
house.
इसमें कुछ नहीं है बस हम आने करके
Can a person even hide in there?
A professional thief could make it work
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be a thief, but I'm no killer.
ओह तो इसने बस डाला था वहाँ पे
Everything pretty clear now,
तो
doesn't it?
जज यहाँ पे लिनी बिल्कुल भी दोषी नहीं है तो आप क्या करना चाहते हो या नो इट्स टाइम टू रिफ्यूट द हाइड्रो आर्कॉन्स प्रीवियस
This time, we
अब
need
बोला
to tell
चाहिए
the
तो तुझे
entire
क्या लगता है
story
कि
from
किसने मारा है
Lillian's
अब काबिल क्या से
perspective.
आया वहाँ पे नो इट्स टाइम टू शो कि कौन है असली बॉस आइडेंटिफाई लूफोस इंटर द टनल ये सही है आलसी डिसॉल्व्ड नो वन इज डिसॉल्व्ड अब कैसे पूरा कंप्लीट और हम जीत गए यहाँ पे केस अब कोई नहीं बचा सकता क्या बोलना चाहती है गाइस तो यहाँ पे हम शायद तक ट्रायल्स जीतने वाले हैं
She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been trapped in the opera house these last 2
2 दिन
days.
से छुपी थी काम धंधा नहीं है
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons.
इसीलिए वो गायब हुआ
So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses.
वाओ और हमें पता भी नहीं चला
Talk about a sneaky thief.
और हमें पता भी नहीं चला
At this point,
पर
all
मुझे
the
तो शुरू से ही
events
तीन
that
दिखा
happened
था
in the tunnel have now come to light.
Ah, so that's the whole story.
Yes.
Bravo!
और यहाँ पे हम केस जीतते हुए
Now
केस
then, Lady Farina,
Let's go.
do you wish to speak against the defense's
फरीना कुछ बोलना
statements?
चाहती है बहुत हंस रही थी पिछले बार तो कुछ बोलना चाहती है
Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution not leave the room before the proceedings have concluded.
अभी भी टाइलेंट नहीं हुआ है
What? Are you reading my mind now?
ये इसको सुना रहा था बेसिकली
I have no further arguments.
oh.
I admit defeat.
Let's go.
But really, could you at least have left me with some dignity?
कैसा लगा हार के हाइड्रा आर्कॉन
She's like a deflated balloon now.
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once again repeat the full sequence of events. The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim from the audience reservation list. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen.
Okay.
To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman was dissolved. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera house.
That's weird.
As for Lyney, he was in the underground structures within the opera house, and was thus ignorant of these happenings. From this reconstruction of events, we can conclude that Lyney, the accused, is in fact innocent.
Let's go, finally!
While there is much in Lyney and Lillian's conduct that should still be investigated separately, this case at least can be handed over to the oratories to make the final decision.
बनाने वाला final decision और ये बनाएगा क्या देखना है? Right side गया तो हम जीते, left side गया तो वो जीते. Okay, तो इसमें लिख के आएगा? क्या लिखा है?
As such, Lyney and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
Oh, finally! Nice job, Paimon. Nice job.
Great work, partners.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Let's not celebrate just yet.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation, Guard Vaughn.
अब इसने क्या कर दिया?
How did you find the water from the primordial sea in Lyney's baggage?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you
पढ़ा हुआ
know.
था. Simple as
Or
that.
was that not a discovery, but false evidence that you dared to bring before this
बताओ भाई कैसे मिला तेरे को?
I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
Coupon क्या है?
I was just following orders. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Lyney, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best opportunity to do so.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know, and seek the protection of the guards.
Yes, I'll tell you everything I know. Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve. It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable exhilaration. We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this is the boss we're talking about.
The boss कौन है? नहीं! What? ये भी dissolve हो गया. He turned into water. How's that possible?
And now he can no longer talk.
इसके बॉस ने देख रही इसकी बॉस कहीं से देख रही है या सुन रही है?
I shouldn't have expected any less of them.
यहाँ बॉस हो सकता है
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
छुपाओ. सब लोग ध्यान देंगे, जाने नहीं देंगे किसी को.
We're just going back now?
We are not needed here anymore. हमारा काम हो गया है पाइमन.
That's true.
और हमने आर्डर से बात भी करनी क्योंकि हमें जानना है.
Traveler, Paimon.
अब क्या चाहिए?
Please wait.
शांत रहेंगे, कुछ नहीं बोलेंगे. तुमने हमसे झूठ बोला, इसलिए हम शांत हैं.
Lyney.
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to look at me. But still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you learned that I'm a member of the Fatui.
I just wanted to be sure that we are square. तुमने मुझे शुरू में बचाया था इसलिए मैं.
But regardless, I'd like the opportunity to set things straight. I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Lyney this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That's all. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The
one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, would you mind hearing a story? It's about my past. Back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were left wandering the streets. To survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days to figure out how he pulled off his amazing tricks. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform magic tricks there. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. But I didn't want my sister to remain a street rat together with me forever. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my performances.
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
That was how we felt at first too. As if fate was on our side and we could say goodbye to those painful days. But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic tricks. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to expand his social circles.
That doesn't seem too bad either. Better than roaming the streets at any rate.
It took a while for me to realize just how dark his heart really was. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette was not on the same return vehicle as me. I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. I went to that noble's bedroom and asked him about her whereabouts. The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift. I mean, you'll be able to perform your magic regardless of who your assistant is, yes?
Oh, no. So he was gonna... But wouldn't Fontaine's laws deal with such people?
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care, and they have their ways of escaping the eye of the law. I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person and hurried through the night. But by the time I leaped over the walls, avoided the guards, and made my way in, all I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood, and the knave standing there in the darkness.
So, she'd already taken care of that.
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in a basement, all of them orphans. Father, I mean, the knave, might have seen something in me, and so she made me an offer. The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. Indeed, betrayal shall never be permitted here. I was hesitant to trust her. I mean, I had just been betrayed by nobles. But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
That's all in the past, though.
She has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis' power once she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save Fontaine.
So, she believes in that prophecy too?
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis. Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further supporting the prophecy.
What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the serial disappearances case, though. Don't you think so, too? Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
I was really only trying to defend Lyney. I wasn't necessarily looking into serial disappearances case.
Besides, are you sure we're the ones who can crack a case that's been cold for decades now? And
I'm a little shocked to hear that from you.
But I suppose you are just travelers who have only arrived in Fontaine after all. Sorry. I might have been too presumptuous.
Don't say that, Navia.
And we were having so much fun investigating with you, too.
मजा है हमें भी ठीक है
Don't mind me.
क्या हम घर जा सकते
Wait,
हैं
shall we have a
नहीं,
farewell
नहीं,
meal? You know, to commemorate our time
नहीं.
as partners?
Huh? Do we really need to get that formal? Well, guess you really did treat us as partners, huh?
Well, I'd just like to have a proper ending to every important memory. That way there are no regrets later. Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take up too much of your time.
Let's go have that meal then
Twist
इस बार कोई नहीं चलाएगा अपना खाना
The boss Navia's treating Camp Paimon in!
Oh,
इस बार कोई खाना
wonderful!
चाहेगा
In
पाइवान
that case, why don't we return to the court of Fontaine and head to the Hotel de Boer?
Alright then, let's have our farewell meal!
तो फाइनली अपना क्वेस्ट जो है कंप्लीट हो गया वेल जो ये ट्रायल था वो एक्चुअली बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग था और जो ट्विस्ट था लास्ट में वो तो हमें बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लगा और अभी भी कुछ बचे हुए हैं जो हमें आगे जाके पता लगने वाले हैं जो फादर जो लिनी और लिनेट को अडॉप्ट किया था और उसका मकसद क्या है ये हमें नहीं पता है अभी और फटुई का क्या मकसद है ये भी हमें नहीं पता है तो जानने के लिए देखिए अगला एपिसोड तब तक के लिए जाओ मजा करो यार